We're making an old-fashioned, I guess, a cabbage salad that peasant women used to make. You know, it's very inexpensive and very easy to make. We have to take 1 head of cabbage, you know, quarter it, and then shred it with a mandolin. And I'm just shredding the last piece, and then we'll just put the salad together. You just got to be careful that you don't touch yourself with this mandolin because it's very sharp. And you can make it as thin as you want or as thick as you want. This is kind of medium. So everybody likes it maybe differently, but this is the way I like it. Okay, so that's it. So I used the whole head of cabbage. It was like a medium-sized cabbage. And, you know, I washed my hands thoroughly. And then the best thing is to just, you know, try and mix the ingredients. Now, to dress it up, I would need like 2 tablespoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and I think it's 3 tablespoons of white vinegar and 3 tablespoons of any type of oil. I'm using olive oil, but a lighter oil is better. Okay. So we're going to put the salt and then try and mix it together, because it needs to kind of go through the cabbage. Okay, so now you have to let it sit with the salt so it marinates for about, I would say, maybe 10 minutes. And then after that, we're gonna add the sugar and let it sit for maybe 2-3 minutes, and then add the other ingredients, mix it up, and then you can cover it and put it in the fridge if you like your salads cold. Okay, it's marinated for about 10 minutes, and now I can put the sugar in. Some people may not like the sugar, and they don't have to put it in. You can just use, but we're used to the sugar, so we put it. That's how my mom and my grandmother used to make it. Okay, now again, my hands are clean, but I have to, you know, use it so that I can mix it thoroughly. Okay, now we're gonna let it sit again for maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we'll put the other 2 ingredients and then cover it and put it in the fridge. Okay, the sugar has now again marinated. Now we're gonna put the oil and we're gonna put the vinegar together. 3 tablespoons oil and 3 tablespoons of vinegar. And again, you can use any type of oil. You know, I'm using olive oil. It's a little bit heavier, but you can use different types of oil that are lighter if you like it. And now we're going to just mix it together. You can also add a little bit of pepper. Some people like to add a little bit of black pepper to it. Okay, now all you have to do is just cover it and put it in the fridge. Okay, now we're gonna make, it's a old-fashioned dish called Nasuvo, which means it's peasant food for, it's potatoes and sort of like dumplings, but it's really not. They're like little tears of dough that are cooked, and you also make a special roux that you know, after you cook the dough, you put the potatoes and that together, which is with onions and red paprika and oil. And I'm starting off with 4 cups of flour, but I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to use. I usually like to have pretty much the same amount of dough as I have of potatoes. So we're going to just start making the dough. So that's 1. And you don't have to be precise with this recipe because it's just very old-fashioned and simple. 3. Okay, here we go. And this is like 4. And we'll see if we need to add any more. And we're going to add maybe a tablespoon of salt. I'm not really measuring it. I'm just going approximately. I'll put that in there. And we're going to use 1 egg. We just break it in the middle. And then we're gonna add water to it as much as we need. And again, I washed my hands, they're clean. So we start with the egg, and then we're gonna, the water is like room temperature. It's not hot and it's not cold. And I'm just gonna keep adding it. You know, I started off like with 1 cup. I'm not sure if I'll use all of it or not. Okay, I'm going to need to add a little bit more water to this. And now I can see it because I'm making it like for 4 people. So I'm going to add just 1 more cup of flour. So it will be a total of 5 cups. And once you have combined it, then you'll just have to put it on the board and knead it a little bit, and then let it rest for about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. In the meantime, you'll prepare the other ingredients. You have to have enough flour that the dough is not sticky, but it cannot be too hard either, because it's going to be hard to pull the little pieces if it's too hard. What you do is you take a little bit of flour and put it on the board so that it doesn't stick. It seems like it's hard to do, but it's very simple. And you can also use, they have nice noodles in the store that are egg noodles that are wide, and you can omit doing this from scratch if you don't feel comfortable doing it. You keep just twisting the dough until everything is combined and the dough is not sticking to the board or your hands. We're going to have to put a little bit more flour because it's still pretty soft. And you can knead this dough for, about 10 minutes. When you see that it's combined and that it's kind of glossy, it's good. Okay, now what we do is we're going to just let it rest. And what I normally do is I just take the dish that I made it in and cover it so that it doesn't dry out. We can go on with preparation for the rest of the ingredients. We're going to cut up 2 onions. And I'm going to place them in a large pot so that all the dough can fit into once it's cooked. So what we will be doing is sauteing the onions in oil. We're going to salt them, and once the onions are halfway done, we're going to add red paprika to it and continue to saute it, because you have to be just careful not to burn the paprika because it'll be bitter. But you have to add a little bit of water to it once it's almost done. And then what we do is the cooked potatoes are mashed and put in there. And once the noodles are cooked, then we finally put them and combine everything together, and that's it. Okay, and you have to put enough oil to cover the bottom of the the dish, because the dough absorbs quite a bit of oil, so you're not going to have too much of it. Okay, and then you're going to add a little bit of salt to this and start cooking the onions, and we'll come back to it to see what they're supposed to look like when they're done. I'd say you can add about a tablespoon of salt because the potatoes can take a lot of salt, and so can the dough. We didn't put too much in the dough, so you have to just keep layering the salt. You have to keep an eye that the onions don't burn. You can lower it a little bit, the heat to maybe 6. Okay, now the onions look like they're ready. They're starting to get a little bit of brown bits. So now we're going to try and put red paprika in there. We're going to put 2 teaspoons to start off and see if that's enough. And you have to be careful, you cannot brown the paprika too much because it'll start to burn. Okay, we're going to put 3 teaspoons of paprika. And that should be enough. Okay, now at this point we're going to add just a little bit of water so that the onions can continue to cook. And that was about, I think, half a cup, but I will put 1 cup because it's going to evaporate. Okay, 1 cup is okay. And let them cook on low heat now for a little while. Okay, in the meantime, I peeled about 8 potatoes. I think they're like medium size. And then I cut them into same size cubes. You know, and washed the starch out until the water is clean. Then I drain it. And I'm going to put it in this pot so we can cook the potatoes. You have to put enough water, but don't put too much, you know, in it. It's got to just barely cover the last potato. Like that. And then we have to put a little bit of salt and cover it and put it on the burner to cook. We're going to put the potatoes on, and I'm going to just add a little bit of salt. I would say, I don't really measure it too much, but I would say like a little over a teaspoon. And once the potatoes start to boil, then we reduce the heat and cook them until they're soft to the fork so that they can be mashed. In a large pot, we put in quite a bit of water for pasta and turn the burner on when you turn the potatoes on so that the water will get, you know, hot. And you can cover your pot so that they can come to a boil faster. Okay, the onions are done. We turn the burner off and we can cover it and wait for the potatoes to be fork tender, which we'll mash and then combine with this, with the onions. Okay, our potatoes are ready. You can see that they're fork tender. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to bring the sauteed onions to the front. And we're going to just add the potatoes and mash them. You can also reserve this potato water in case you need to add it later, because sometimes the dough will absorb the moisture and you might need a little bit more so that it's softer. Now I'm just going to take the masher, and I like to mash them not too fine. I like to have a little bit of potato bite in it. Now this is ready. We can add a little bit of the reserved water to it. Okay, I'm going to start off with, it's about a cup, and that's good enough. Okay, now you can just cover it and wait for the noodles to be done, and then placed in with the potatoes. Okay, the dough has rested, the water is boiling, and I'm going to now just roll it out a little bit and cut it into strips so that I can easily tear the dough into the boiling water. Okay, we're just gonna cut like strips like so, and I'm placing it on a tray so that it's easier to take to the stove. Okay, I can just cut them in half so it's easier to. Okay, they're gonna be like, I don't know, like little rags. Okay, the water is boiling. Now we're going to just add about a handful of salt. Actually, 2 handfuls, because it's always good to salt the water. The pasta will be tastier. Okay, and now what we do is we just keep tearing the dough into different size pieces. And once you finish the last piece, you will see that the pasta will be coming to the top. That's when it's done. I would say, you know, after 10 minutes or something like that, it should be done. And this is very, very easy, very fast to do. And it's a pretty hearty meal. When you have it with the cabbage salad, it's pretty delicious. And this does not take long to, you see some of them are already coming to the top, which means that they're done. But we have to make sure that all of them come to the top. And as long as the water is boiling, you don't have a problem. It's not going to stick to the bottom. But if the water is not boiling, then you might have some pasta stuck to the bottom. And you have to try and do this quickly so that it all cooks pretty evenly. My mother used to surprise us with this when we were in former Yugoslavia. And when we would come home from school, oh, it would smell so delicious. She used to make all these special meals for us. And like I said before, you could also buy like hearty wide noodles, and you can make it, it'll taste, you know, good. It won't taste the same like this. The texture of the noodles is different, but my mom sometimes did that too. Okay, as you can see, all the noodles have come to the top, and I was mixing it, you know, every so often to make sure that all sides get cooked evenly. And that's basically it. It's finished, and now we're gonna combine it, strain it, and combine it with the potatoes, onions, and the paprika, and we're finished. Okay, we're gonna start putting the noodles together with the potatoes. This is probably for, you know, 6 people. Okay, now you have to mix it together and continue to add the rest of the noodles. And if it tends to absorb the juice. It almost has to be very runny when you're done. And when it sits for a little while, then it absorbs the moisture. The noodles absorb the moisture. And if you don't make it runny, it's going to be dry. Okay. So this is the way it's supposed to look. We're going to let it sit for a little while, and then we will plate it with the salad. Okay, this is how juicy it's supposed to be. And we're going to now leave it for 15 minutes, and then we will plate it. We'll cover it and keep it on the warm burner.